Well, good morning, folks. Welcome to the Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Merle, and I'm going to tell you what, it has been a long time since I've been live on this channel at all. And so I'm a little bit nervous. As we would say here in the South, I'm about as nervous as a termite choking on a splinter. I don't know if you've ever heard that, probably not, but a little bit different. I don't know, I speak live in front of people all the time, but just kind of doing it this way, I think makes me a little bit more nervous. To be totally honest with you, I've got some new software I'm needing to work with a little bit. And so trying to work through some kinks in that, and more or less you are the guinea pigs for that today. But there is a purpose to what we're doing here. We're going to do several different things, as a matter of fact. First of all, we're going to have yet our next, whatever number this is, VOGMASK Giveaway. So I'm looking forward to that. Going to be giving away about 3 more of those VOGMASK today, here in just a moment. And we're going to be literally drawing them out of the literal hat, like we promised last week, like we did it all year last year. Although if some of you watched last week, and some of you maybe even won last week, probably recognize and remember that we did that kind of by some kind of an online thing. I liked it all right, but it was a little more complicated on my end, and nothing beats a regular old drawing out of a hat, does it? So I'm thankful that we have the chance to go ahead and do this, but we're going to draw those names out in just a moment. In addition to that, if we make it through it and I don't give up and pack up and quit, we're going to be talking a little bit today about the transplant process itself, the journey. I would call this journey A to Z, and just kind of talking about that. That's more for people who are facing the transplant process. So maybe in the future, this will make a video you can share out with a friend or family member, someone who may be unfortunately facing transplant. Kind of give them some marching points, some things to expect, particularly when it comes to the emotional side of things. You know, I've said it so many times here on the channel, the emotional side of things is probably a little bit worse than even the physical side of things. And even the financial is as bad as that is, you know, draining the bank account or whatever. But nonetheless, we are going to do that. And then lastly, I'm going to be taking some comments and questions. And I know I've got several already here in the chat kind of watching. So I'm going to be recognizing some of you in just a moment. And I'm excited about that. But I'm just glad to have this opportunity to be with you and to be able to offer these VOGMASK and hopefully some decent, and that's all it might be. Maybe it's just decent advice, but we'll go through that. But you're a big part of this. The community, you all who are watching, those who may watch later, you're all a huge part of this. This is not something that I do alone by any means. This is something that we do together, and I'm thankful that we have that, and I'm thankful that we have that camaraderie and that family sense, so we can help one another. So hopefully when we get to the marching points about the journey, maybe you can kick in some ideas there as well to help along with that. So with that being said, before we do the drawing, I am going to look over here, and I will have to look at the screen. This is new to me, but I'm going to look over here and kind of say hello to a few of you. First of all, my good friend Ron Harbor. Good morning, Ron. It's good to see you here. Good morning to you. I don't even know, I hadn't kept track of what time zone you're in, so maybe we're on the wrong time zone. I may have you up early, or may have you staying up a little bit past the timing may not be right. I'm going to say past your bedtime. How silly is that? But good morning, Ron. It is good to see you as well. Also, let me go back down here. Let's see what we have. And again, this is new to me, so I'm playing around with some software. We got Vanetta Davis. Good morning, Vanetta. Get your screen centered up. Good morning. Happy holidays to you. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I had a really good Thanksgiving time with family. I told somebody the other day I had too much food and just the right amount of family there. And you know how that can go. That can be a positive or negative. But too much food and just the right amount of family. Ron Harbor, let me pop Ron back up here. Ron says he is actually has his heart cleaned this afternoon. He's gained weight and he's finishing my annual. So Ron, good luck with that. You'll certainly be in my prayers with that. I've just gotten through my annuals back a couple of different weeks ago. I'm actually going to the dermatologist tomorrow. Is why the VOGMASK drawing is not tomorrow, as I promised. I'm just going to go ahead and get that done today and go with that. That's just you know how it is. You work your schedule, don't you? You work your entire schedule around this life and what we have to do in this life. At least I do. And so, you know the deal, Ron and Bernetta and anybody else that's watching. Good to see you here this morning. So with that being said, we've been stalling around a little bit already. So let's go ahead and jump back in, and let's go ahead and do our drawing today. Like I said, I'm going to draw out for 3 of these VOGMASK. Some of you Ron, you're one I know. I actually won a VOGMAS on last week. And by the way, for those of you who may have won last week and you haven't received those yet, that's for good reason. I didn't technically get them mailed. I'm running behind with a holiday, but hopefully and prayerfully here in just a little bit, within an hour or two, those are going to be going out. So the people who did win last week, I doubt very seriously you're going to be able to see that. But there's the people who won last week. You will be receiving your VOGMASK sometime hopefully later this week as I go ahead and do that. But here, we've got the literal hat here. I've got several names placed in here, so I'm just going to do what I always did. We're going to do the old-fashioned where I say dig around, dig around, dig around, dig around, my eyes closed, and I'm going to reach in and pull out one. And let's see who we have today. And let me say up front, I've done this too many times. I'm not silly. I'm not foolish about it, at least. If I can't pronounce your name, I apologize up front for that, but I'm going to do my best. This one happens to be easy. And the very first winner of the VOGMAS today is Brent Fields. Brent Fields, congratulations. You are the very first winner of a VOGMAS today. And I'll do my best to get yours sent out today with those from last week. So Brent Fields, you are the winner of a VOGMAS today. Now, in order for that to be possible, Brent, you're going to have to reach out to me. Send me a text message. My number is 256-733-1214. Send me a text message over, Brent. Let me know your address and potential size that you might need. And if I can get that by today, I'll ship it today. If not, when I hear from you, I'll do that. So that's the first one here. Let's get the hat, shake it up a little bit, dig around, dig around, dig around, eyes closed. And the second VOGMAS winner for today, yes, a great friend of the program, someone I've seen here many, many times. Congratulations, Ben Becca. Ben Becca, congratulations. You are the second winner of a VOGMAS for today. So, Ben, do the same thing. Hit me up. Send me a text, 256-733-1214. Did a lot quicker that time. Send me a text and potential size, and I'll get that shipped out to you ASAP. And then one more for today. Back up here, dig around, dig around, dig around, dig around. Do you like to dig around, or is that annoying? I don't know. It's funny for me, I guess. Maybe. Next one here, Donna Sinclair. Donna Sinclair, if that focus is in, maybe it did. Donna Sinclair, congratulations. You are a third and final winner of a VOGMAS for today. Again, I'm going to hopefully and prayerfully, if I can hear from you, Donna, 256-733-1214. Send me a text with your address and sizing, and I will try to get that sent out for you today. So that'll be the ones I gave away last week plus this week. And so anyway, congratulations again to that. Let me see. We have a couple more, at least one more comment over here. We got Harbor's Hope, Ron Harbor again. Harbor says it's 9 in the morning here. Yeah, I should have known that. It's 10. It's 10 here, so we are off by an hour. I guess you're on better time than I am. But you didn't have to get up early because I waited late. So anyway, good to hear from you, Ron. And congratulations on you winning a VOGMASK on last week. And, you know, your name's still in the hat. It just didn't pull out today. And so I've got what I did. I took all the entries from what was the week before last, the original announcement, put them in the hat. Then I took last week's entries and then the ones that have come in this week. They're all in here. And even if you won, I kind of toss your name back in. Who cares? Everybody can use 2 VOGMASK, right? I mean, it's a great product. This is the Bumblebee. This one right here, next to trees, the Bumblebee pattern is my favorite. And I don't know, maybe that's not what I'm supposed to be wearing, but next to trees, that's one of my favorites. But anybody can use a couple of different VOGMASK. Great product, great company, great people. And not only is their product just wonderful to wear, it's comfortable, they got every kind of fit and fashion that you should want, but it's a great company behind it, great people behind that. So shout out to them for, again, supplying these VOGMASK so that I can give them away. And remember, I give those away free of charge, costs you nothing, saves you about $35, and I even pay the shipping on that. So yeah, Vernetta says, yeah, dig around, dig around, dig around, dig around. Vernetta likes the dig around, or at least she commented that she did. So I don't know why I got to saying that. I guess I do it with the kids playing around. When we're, playing silly games, I do silly stuff. And so I carry that on. I don't have the Frosty the Snowman bucket over here. I just got too much going on my desk. I may bring him back next week. He was pretty popular last week. So if anybody would like to see the Frosty Snowman and the Frosty Cam we had back over here, I may try that next week. But here's what we have for today. So thank you for that, Vernetta. As far as our discussion today, and I want you to chip in, and I know there's just a handful of you in here, and thank you for being here. It is an early morning, and I caught you off guard with no warning. But what we are discussing today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the journey, if you will, or the process A to Z, the journey or the process A to Z. What can you expect when you're facing transplant? Now, in my mind, I divide this up into about 5 categories. I like to number things out, but I divide this up into about 5 categories. Number 1, and I think this is probably universal to everybody, is a category I would note as shock and awe. Okay. The first category of transplant is shock and awe. And I say that because no matter who you are, if you've got a good mind about you, and I would say got good horse sense, if you are facing transplant, or maybe you're just now hearing that you're going to need a transplant of any kind, that's going to be a moment in my mind of shock and awe, because I can't think of a person that I've met yet who, when they heard the word transplant associated with their name, particularly if it caught them off guard, if they thought, whoa, this is exciting. I mean, this is great news. I'm going to need a transplant. That's not the case. In order for someone to need a transplant, they're going to be in dire straits. They're going to be in a real need. Particularly, I can think about my example, my experience with a heart transplant. In order for someone to need a heart transplant, you had to be right at death's door, honestly. You had to be right at the end of the rope in order for transplant to even be a consideration. So even though I had been a congenital patient, grown up all those years, having few issues, albeit there were some issues through my time as facing transplant, when it really came down to it, when I came out of that cath lab and they, waited all those minutes they had to get me awake and at myself. And when they stood over my bed and said, you need a transplant, there was nothing about that excited me. And as transplant patients, most of us at least would know that there's not really anything that's there to excite us. And I've even had people in the past, for example, in passing, I've had people before who've said, well, because they're sick, they'll say, well, you know what, this heart or this kidney is giving me problems, and I just might just go get a transplant. Look, it's way worse than that. It's worser, as I would say. That's not the way you ought to think. Getting a transplant is a really big process. It's going to begin a journey that hopefully is going to last a long time, but it's going to be very involved. It's going to be very stressful. It's going to be very, scary, for lack of better terms. And that's why I would term category 1 or step 1, if you will, as that of shock and awe, because that's what it'll put you in. And I can remember, basically, not literally, but my jaw dropped when I heard the word transplant in the same sentence with my name. I just didn't want to hear that. And I don't know that anyone really would. But that's the first category. Number two, I would say the second part of this journey is that what I would call hurry up and wait. Once you hear the news that you're a potential candidate for transplant, then it's hurry up and wait. I spoke with someone last week, for example, who they feel as if that their son is not getting the urgency put with their name as they're facing transplant. They've been told they need a transplant, but they don't feel like the team is moving quickly enough towards that end. And that's just kind of the way it is. I can remember back, and this has been for me, let's see, I'm 9.5 years out. This would have been, this could have been as much as 13, 14 years ago, I'm not sure. But I can remember for me, the first time after they told me I needed a transplant, and after they started talking about evaluating me for transplant, I got really nervous about that. And I can remember that at one point when some of my records were being transferred around between doctors, getting really, really upset with my main cardiac transplant team because they weren't moving quick enough. I was just saying, why don't you have my records yet? Why hadn't I had this test? Why am I not being listed? Getting really upset about that. Well, the thing is, it is a huge process of hurry up and then wait. 2 steps forward how do you say that? One step forward and two steps back. Can't talk, but kind of how it feels sometimes, because that's what we deal with. It's a process, a long process that takes part. Now, the evaluation process itself, depending on the organ, I'll give an example of heart. It can be done as quick as within about 3 or 4 days sometimes, depending on what they have to do and what testing has already been done prior to the official evaluation. And it can take months. I've known people that waited months for their evaluation to take place, and a lot of that had to do with scheduling. And if one test showed one thing, then they had to do 2 more tests as a result. So it's just a little bit different, a little bit different for everybody, but it's still a journey. There's still a lot of hurry up and wait involved in that. And then once you're listed for transplant, that's when the real wait and probably the hardest part of the wait begins, because you can never tell. Average right now, currently, I looked up the statistics a couple of days ago. Average wait time for a heart transplant in the United States right now is still, believe it or not, nationally running around 17 or so months. When I was doing it 9.5 years ago, it was 18, still running about 17 or so months. I get that people are transplanting more quickly, and depending on what center you are and what part of the country, that can vary a little bit. Some people wait much longer, but the average is still about 17 months. And so that's a long time to wait when you're not feeling well, when you're afraid for your life in most cases, when you're facing different things every day and struggles every day. That's a lot to deal with. But that's kind of the second stage there of what I would call it, hurry up and wait. So shock and awe, hurry up and wait. Number 3, I would call it trial. Listen close to this. I would call it trial and terror. Trial and terror, because that's the way it is as well. You're going to be facing some trials in this life associated with transplant like you have probably never faced before. Not that in order to get a transplant, you got to be in severe failure, but you're going to be facing some tests, some trials that you may not have endured. There are going to be some situations that come up where you may want to throw up your hands and give up. You may want to pack it in and quit, because that's just kind of the way it is. It's just, there's going to be some difficulties. There are going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be times, and I've seen this so many times, where they're going through that evaluation, they're going through the testing process or whatever, and they come up and say, well, we did this test and we found this issue and we need to deal with it first. And I've known that to be something as simple as somebody needing some teeth filled. I've known it to be as bad as someone has cancer that they discovered. Thanks to God that they found that, because they're looking at the whole body. But it's a tough time. There are going to be trials, and there's going to be terror that comes with that. Out and out, downright fear. And I think that's okay. I had someone, well, it's been a couple different times this has happened, but even most recently, it's probably 2.5 weeks ago, I had someone speaking with me, and they're like, well, I'm scared to death, and I'm afraid to tell the doctors I'm so scared, and I'm not sure what to do. Well, my answer to that is tell them you're afraid, because if they look at you and get the idea that this doesn't faze you, that transplant is not a big deal to you, that doesn't speak very well either, to them. They may look at you and think, well, Jim must have some severe mental disorders or something going on, because he doesn't even seem like he's bothered by this, life and death situation, facing organ transplant. He doesn't seem like he's bothered. I would rather just show the real face. And then that way, if there are some issues, and there will be, you're going to be facing, distress I said distress, depression. So many emotions are going to be flowing through, and you may need some assistance with that. You may need some counseling. You may need some medication to go along with that. You may need some help. And by relaying that to them, that, look, I'm just downright terrified of this situation, you can get some help that way. At least that'll be available to you perhaps as an option, and they can help you to work through that. But that's kind of the third stage. Next, I would say, and that carries you from the wait time, that can carry you, that trial and terror can go from day one to day infinite, I guess. But that at least carries you up through the surgery, maybe that trial and terror. And then there's going to be rest and recovery. And this is one of those things. This is number 4, by the way. This is going to be rest and recovery. This is one of those things that I wanted to overlook. I wanted to, because I was having a great recovery. I popped out of the bed really quick, and I won't retell that, but I was doing great. I mean, I'm walking 4 miles by the end of the week. I'm doing okay. But I wanted to be doing perfect. I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted to be back to normal and better than normal. And when I sat down in my cardiologist's office 3 weeks post-transplant and told him I just don't feel 100%, he laughed at me. He said, Jim, you've been sick over 30 years, 3 decades, and in 3 weeks you want to be all better? It's not the way it works. And I needed more than I knew. I needed more than I knew rest and recovery time. Your body, whatever it is, whether it's heart, lung, liver, kidney, pancreas, whatever, your body has been through tremendous, tremendous trauma in having the surgery itself. And so you're going to have some time to rest and recover, and that's the best thing you can do. And as you know well, that's the thing you really can't do in the hospital. So I think the best goal to set is to try to get up into a place where you're out of the hospital, where you can get home and start that process of resting and recovering. And that's going to be big, big, big. And that's going to be a long part of the process. For me, that was well over a year, believe it or not, until I kind of looked back in hindsight. I think when I got to the 1 year mark, I looked back in hindsight and said, well, about 9 months ago, I felt pretty good. I mean, not 9 months, about 3 months ago at the 9-month mark, I felt pretty good, and finally kind of came to that realization. But nonetheless, rest and recovery. And then number 5 here in the list, I would say then you can begin to plan and purpose. Okay, that's the next one, plan and purpose. After resting and recovery, don't get these out of order. Don't try to leapfrog from trial and terror to plan and purpose, because you're not ready for that. But after the rest and recovery, then plan and purpose is a good place to land now. And planning and purposing just has to do with now, if you check those boxes and you're feeling about yourself and you feel better or maybe better. I always say at the end of these programs, stay stronger, and I emphasize the part of that. That's because I want you to be better than you ever have, emotionally, spiritually, and also physically. I want you to be better than ever, stronger than ever. But, when you get through that and you can check some of those boxes and say, okay, I feel this, and I'm getting better. I am better than I ever was before. Now you got to make a plan for yourself and a purpose for your life. I would say plan for your future. If that for you includes going to work or going back to work, or whatever it is, those activities that you always had done in the past or maybe hope to do in the future, get started planning those, set those up, get ready to live life, because that's what organ donation makes possible. Through opportunities of time, it gives us opportunities at life. And so I would say make a plan for that, and then make a purpose for that. Don't live the rest of your life just sitting back and saying, well, I got the transplant, so I'm just going to work my fingers to the bone and just live the life I always had. Make a purpose in your life. Do something to help give back to this community. Do something to make it better for someone else. Sometimes I lose focus of, I do 3 things, or try to do 3 things on the program. I advocate, educate, and motivate. And I think I'm pretty good at the motivation and the education part, maybe particularly the education part. I like to teach, but I've got to really spend a lot of time and need to focus time more often than I do on advocating, because for every person that I can potentially affect, for every person that I can potentially influence to become an organ donor, I'm not saving necessarily my life at this point. Hopefully I won't face it again, possibly could, but I'm saving the life of someone else. I'm thankful that my donor family, and I spoke to my donor's mother last night, Miss Louise, hey to you if you happen to pop in on this, but I got to spend a lot of time talking with her last night, and that is a huge blessing. And the blessing started with the fact that somewhere, somehow, her family, as her son was, passing from the tragedy they did, her family was spoken to about organ transplantation and the possibility of organ donation. and they chose to make that choice. And that's where I am 9.5 years later. That's where my blessings come in. That's how, when Vanetta said happy holidays earlier, that's how I had a happy holiday, because I was here to have it, and I was here to have it with my family, something I did not have an option of prior to transplant. So I would say plan and purpose is a big part. Make a plan for your life, but make a purpose for your life to affect and to benefit other people. So to rename those really quick: shock and awe, hurry up and wait, trial and terror, rest and recovery, and plan and purpose. That's the 5 things we have discussed, and I may put that together in a shorter video later, but for those of you on the live stream, you heard it here first, I guess you would say. I'm going to go back over here, and again, I'm playing with new software. I'm admitting that up front. I'm going to go back over here and see what the comments were. Brenda Martinez, Brenda, you didn't win today, but I did see your name in this hat. So keep hanging in there. Your name is in this hat. But Brenda Martinez says, great advice. Always be honest with your care team, and they can't help you if they don't know what is going on. Exactly. I hear people a lot who, probably much like Brenda knows, I hear people a lot who'll say, you know what, my team, they just don't really seem to help. They're not, they don't have the answers to this or that, or I'm not getting very good care. That's very possible. It's very possible, but rare. A lot of times the reason why great care is not obtained is because great care is not possible. If they do not know what's going on with your life and in your life, they're not going to be able to provide you with that care. So very good point there, Brenda, with that. Of course, going back up just a little bit, let me see here. Vernetta, I'm having trouble here because I'm learning. Vernetta said yes. She said yes. Still in shock and awe when I settle on and think about it. Me too sometimes. 9.5 years post, and it's still that moment. Every day's a new day, and some of those days come with more difficulty than others, and so every day is a challenge, or can be a challenge in that case. Now, I saw something Ron popped up right here. Let's see what Ron is saying. Ron Harbor says, I think the unknown about the entire recession process or whatever, so many people get upset at the doctor is not sitting down and answering all the questions. Their main goal and purpose in life is to say that's right. I agree with that now. I'm all about, and I love to have a good, in tune, involved, personable doctor, but at the same time, these doctors are there to save your life. And if they save your life, they've done more for you perhaps than what you're willing to consider, what some are willing to consider at least. And so we're not looking for a family friend, albeit I'm thankful I have a family friend and several of those through my team, but that's not what we're looking for. Let's see, Vanetta also commented, went through and still going through it all on a daily basis. That's right. And it is a daily basis. It is definitely every day a blessing, every moment a blessing, every breath a blessing, as you would know, Vanetta. But wow, it is a daily process, and it's one that we go through in a constant basis. Of course, Ron chimes in again, says, yep, it's the process. It is absolutely process. Now, Ron Harbor is a Texas A&M fan. Am I right about that, Ron? Ron's a Texas A&M fan. No denial about it. I'm an Alabama fan. But anybody that knows anything about college football and Alabama football knows Nick Saban and what he has to say about the process. And Nick may know process, but you and we know process as well as anybody, right? And so, yeah, it is a daily grind and a process, but it's definitely worth all the time and worth all the living that we are able and blessed to do. So, several of you, again, I didn't expect, I jumped on this live stream on a whim just a few minutes ago and to how to get some of this stuff done for today so I can go to my appointment tomorrow. So I didn't expect many of you to be here. But thank you so much to Ron as well as Vernetta and also Brenda Martinez and others. I know there are others here. It shows there are others at least that are not necessarily commenting. All right, Ron, I'll do it for you. Yeah, Ron Harbor's Hope says, get a Maggie. See, I told you, Texas A&M man through and through. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. By the way, Just a side note, thank you so much, Texas A&M, for beating LSU the other night. We need that. I don't know how much it'll help us in the end, but thank you for that. And I'm thrilled that that was able to be done. That's the minor things in life. But hey, we're here to enjoy life. We're here to enjoy the lives that we've been given by transplant. And if we can enjoy some college football or any other thing that may entertain us in a wholesome way, I'm glad to do it. I'm sure that you are as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready. If there's nothing else that pops up in the next few seconds while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to get off of here. But and I will break this video out a little bit. I'll kind of make a video out of the drawing perhaps later, and then make a video out of the little discussion we have here and such. I'll probably come back to that. But thank you so much. Let me know in the comments if this actually worked at all on your end. I see what's right here on my end and what's coming up on my screen. It may be different than yours, but let me know in the comments. Was the audio okay? The video okay? Did the comments pop up? I know I threw them up like all over the screen in different places. Wasn't real professional, but did it work anyway? And we will see you in next time. And thank you so much. Goodbye, friends. Stay stronger.